Why in the news? Recently, the Supreme Court directed the Election Commission of India, ECI, to submit data on the electoral bonds received by political parties till September 30, 2023. More on news. In 2019, while hearing the Association for Democratic Reform's ADR petition against the electoral bond scheme, the SC asked the ECI to submit data on electoral bonds received by political parties. ECI received status reports from 105 parties. State Bank of India has revealed that only 25 political parties have opened the bank accounts necessary to receive electoral bonds. Status of electoral funding. According to data collected by ADR, 69% of the total income of political parties during the 11-year period between FY 2004-05 and 2014-15 was from unknown sources. Sources of income of national parties for FY 2021-22, 66.04% income from unknown sources. As per the annual audit reports, 23.74% income from known sources, donation details declared to ECI. Concerns associated with electoral funding. Huge expenditure. Lok Sabha 2019 elections have been termed as the most expensive election ever, anywhere. As per the Centre for Media Studies report, nearly Rs 55,000 to 60,000 crore was spent during the 2019 elections. Disrupts level playing field. The increased use of money power in the election disrupts the level playing field. It actively deters small political parties and independent candidates from taking part in the elections. Increased cash transactions. Electoral funding in the form of cash transactions is widespread in India, making it difficult to trace the sources of funds, increasing corruption and reducing transparency. As per rules currently, political parties do not have to disclose all donations below 20,000 rupees. Corporate and political parties nexus. Corporate donations of political parties have been growing significantly. Electoral bonds, EBs. EBs are interest-free bearer bonds or money instruments that can be purchased by companies and individuals in India from authorized branches of State Bank of India, SBI. Announced in Union Budget 2017 to 2018. Sold in multiples of 1,000 rupees, 10,000 rupees, 1 rupee lakh, 10 rupees lakh, and 1 rupee crore. Purchased through a KYC-compliant account to make donations to a political party. No cap on number of EBs that a person or company can purchase. Available for purchase for a period of 10 days each in January, April, July and October. Benefits of EBs. Promote transparency by ensuring that political parties receive donations through formal banking channels. Identity of donors remains confidential, reducing the risk of retaliation or intimidation for their political affiliations. All transactions of EBs are carried out via checks or digitally. Concerns associated with EBs. Lack of transparency regarding the source of funds. 5 www.visioneers.nwa. Violates citizens' fundamental right to information under Article 19(1)(a) about political parties. Anonymous donation may compromise with principle of free and fair election. Shell companies can be used to fund political parties, as 7.5% annual profit limit has been removed. Also, Indian subsidiaries of foreign companies have been allowed to donate funds. Way forward. State funding of elections. Various committees such as the Indrajit Gupta Committee, 1998, endorsed state funding of elections to establish a fair playing field for parties with less money. Transparency. Details of all donors should be made available for public scrutiny under RTI. Proactive disclosure. Mode of payment of all donations. Above and below 20,000 rupees, membership fees, etc. can be declared by the parties in the schedules of their audit reports, submitted annually to the Income Tax Department and ECI. Further, scrutiny of financial documents submitted by the political parties should be conducted annually by a body approved by CAG and ECI to enhance transparency and accountability. Tax exemption. ECI has recommended that tax exemption be awarded only to those political parties which contest and win seats in Lok Sabha or Assembly elections. ECI has also recommended that details of all donors who donate above 2,000 rupees be declared in the public domain. Bringing political party under the ambit of RTI, national and regional political parties must provide all information under the RTI Act to strengthen political parties, elections and democracy. 1.1.1 Electoral literacy. Why in the news? Recently, ECI signed an MOU with the Ministry of Education to bring electoral literacy to classrooms across the country. Salient features of MOU on electoral literacy. Systematically integrating voter education and electoral literacy into the curriculum, starting from classes 6 to 12 in all schools. Electoral literacy includes information on government, principal economic, social and political issues that the nation is facing, the value of democracy, and equal rights of women and men among others. Fosters a sense of responsibility within state education departments for establishing electoral literacy clubs, ELCs, in schools and colleges. Designate one of the rooms in every senior secondary school as the democracy room for regular display of voter education materials and conduct of continuous electoral and democracy education (ESED) activities throughout the year. 6 www.visioneers.nwa will introduce and update textbooks to include content on electoral literacy and will advise state education boards and other boards to follow suit. Initiatives taken to promote electoral literacy, systematic voter education and electoral participation, SVEP program, flagship program of ECI for voter education, spreading voter awareness and promoting voter literacy in India. Electoral literacy clubs, ELCs were set up in institute campuses across country by ECI under SVEP campaign. ELC is a platform to engage school students through interesting activities and sensitize them on their electoral rights and familiarize them with the electoral process of registration and voting. Way forward. Teachers training, organizing seminars to train teachers for effectively imparting electoral literacy to students. Campaigns, regular campaigns can be organized by the State Election Commission to enhance electoral literacy among the masses. Increasing funding and coordinating with NGOs and Gram Sabhas to augment electoral literacy programs in the rural areas. 1.2 Role of Governor. Why in the news? Recently, Kerala, Tamil Nadu and Punjab moved the Supreme Court against their respective governors over the pending bills. More on the news. The Kerala government has claimed inaction on the part of governor in relation to 8 bills passed by the Assembly. Of these, some bills have been pending with the governor for more than 2 years. In Punjab, 3 money bills were withheld by Punjab governor. Tamil Nadu petition mentions 12 bills as pending with the governor, apart from delay in approving the transfer of investigation to the CBI in various cases. Constitutional provisions for governor. Provisions regarding bills. Under Article 200, the assent of the governor is necessary for a bill to become a law. In this regard, the governor has been given some options, refer table. Governor's option status of bill: give assent to the bill becomes a law, withhold the assent, bill fails to become a law, return the bill for reconsideration of the legislature as soon as possible. If the state legislature passes the bill in its original shape or in a modified form, the governor has to give the assent to reenacted bill. ECI Strategic Plan on Electoral Literacy 2016-2025 enhance voter awareness and promoting ethical electoral participation. Continuous education in electoral democracy by developing tools and content. Building partnerships for wider engagement. 7 www. The Constitution does not lay down any time limit within which the governor is required to return the bill for reconsideration. It only insists on as soon as possible. Reserve the bill for the consideration of the President. President can either give his/her assent or withhold the assent. President may direct the governor to return the bill to state legislature with his or her message. Such bill, if reenacted by the state legislature with or without amendment, is presented again to the President. Reserving bill for President. In one case such reservation is obligatory, that is, where the bill passed by the state legislature endangers the position of the state high court. In addition, the governor can also reserve the bill if it is of the following nature: ultra vires, that is, against the provisions of the Constitution. Opposed to the directive principles of state policy. Against the larger interest of the country. Of grave national importance. Dealing with compulsory acquisition of property. Discretionary powers. Article 163 states that except when required to exercise his/her functions in his/her discretion, the governor is bound by the aid and advice of the Council of Ministers. If any question arises where the governor is required to act in his/her discretion, the decision of the governor in that regard is final. However, Supreme Court in Nabam Rebia case, 2016, held that if a governor exercised his discretion beyond his jurisdiction or power, it would fall under the subject matter of judicial review. Recent judgments regarding role of governor. SR the My case, 1994. The court held that the governor's power should be exercised in rare and exceptional circumstances, and that the subjective satisfaction of the governor should be open to judicial review. Shamsa Singh case, 1974. Supreme Court held that the governor does not exercise their discretionary powers while withholding assent or returning a bill to the state legislature. They are required to act as per the advice of the Council of Ministers. Recent judgments. State of Punjab case, 2023. If a governor decides to withhold assent to a bill, then he or she has to return the bill to the legislature for reconsideration. Such bill cannot be kept with the governor indefinitely. Supreme Court observed the governor has only 3 options as per Article 200: granting assent, withholding assent, or referring to the President, and that after exercising any of these options, he/she cannot then exercise another option. Vice Chancellor case, 2023. SC underlined that governors acting in their statutory capacity as University Chancellor are not bound by the aid and advice of the Council of Ministers. Tamil Nadu Governor case, 2023. SC stated that governor cannot refer the bills to the President after the Assembly has reenacted the bills following the governor's declaration of withholding the assent. Various issues concerning governor's role. Pending decisions, delays in assent to legislations and crucial appointments leads to a constitutional deadlock and disrupts parliamentary democracy. Political interference. There have been instances where governor have been accused of political bias, especially in cases of government formation and use of discretionary powers. Administrative inefficiency. Friction between governor and state government, especially where there is political difference, sometimes leads to deadlock in administrative decisions and appointments. Burden on judiciary. Disputes arising from the governor's exercise of discretionary powers or their actions regularly leads to legal challenges and interpretations. 8 www.visioneers. Way forward recommendations of different commissions. Area Commission. It is only under rare circumstances that the governor may exercise their discretion where they feel that the provisions of the bill will contravene the provisions of the Constitution and therefore should be reserved for the consideration of the President. In such exceptional cases, the governor must discharge his functions under Article 200 as per the advice of ministers. Governor appointee should be a detached outsider and a person of eminence in some walks of life. Governor should not act as an agent of the President and should not be removed from office merely on the ground that the new government at the centre desires a governor of its choice. Hunter Commission. Governor should take a decision with respect to a bill presented for his/her assent within a period of 6 months. Governors are expected to be independent and to act in a manner devoid of any political consideration. The governor should have a fixed term of 5 years, and removal should be through a resolution passed by the state legislature. Venkatakalia Commission. The governor should make use of the advice of the Council of Ministers in the day-to-day administration of the state. 1.3. Special and Local Laws, SLL. Why in the news? Recent tabling of bills on criminal laws has kept special and local laws, SLL, away from the ongoing reform process. About special and local laws, SLL. A special law is a law applicable to a particular subject covering specific issues. Example, Unlawful Activities Prevention Act, 1967, UAPA. A local law is a law applicable only to a particular part of India. Example, Maharashtra Control of Organised Crime Act, MCOCA, 1999. Cognizable crimes are broadly categorized as those falling either under the Indian Penal Code, IPC, or under the Special and Local Laws, SLL. A cognizable offence is defined as the one which an officer in charge of a police station may investigate without the order of a magistrate and effect arrest without warrant. Significance of SLLs. High case of registration. As per the crime in India statistics of 2021, nearly 39.9% of all cognizable offences registered in 2021 were under SLLs. Efficiency in enforcement. Special laws enable law enforcement agencies to focus on particular types of criminal activities, allowing for more effective and specialized investigation and prosecution. For e.g., Narcotic Drugs and Psychotropic Substances Act, 1985. Protection of vulnerable groups. Some special laws are enacted to protect specific vulnerable groups, such as children, women, and marginalized communities. O for e.g., Protection of Children from Sexual Offences Act POCSO, 2012 Technological Advancements. Special laws can address crimes arising from technological advancements, such as cybercrime. O for e.g., Information Technology Act, 2000. 9. Need for reforms in SLLs. Unclear definitions, ambiguous and vague definitions of offences and terms such as Terrorist Act, unlawful activity, organized crime syndicate, etc. in Macoca. Unlawful activities, a prevention, act applicability dilemma. The Protection of Children from Sexual Offences Act, 2012 POCSO, is increasingly being criticized for its applicability to consensual sexual activities between minors. Clarity issue, concerns raised regarding categorization of matter falling under criminal or civil wrongdoing. Dilution of due process. Universally accepted due process values are increasingly being diluted over e.g., increased powers of search and seizure under of the UAPA, and the admissibility of confessions recorded by police officers under Macoca. Stringent provisions, provided under UAPA, Narcotic Drugs and Psychotropic Substances Act, makes the granting of bail an impossibility. Way forward. Separate chapter and procedure. All SLLs which criminalize or seek to criminalize a conduct should find a place as separate chapters and procedure within the larger structure of the Penal Code. Due process safeguards. Strengthen the implementation of universally accepted due process values by conducting regular training programs for legal professionals and law enforcement agencies. Enhancing categorization clarity. Introduce guidelines or amendments to provide clarity on categorization between criminal and civil wrongs. Emerging crimes and threats. New types of crimes, such as cybercrimes and terrorism, constantly emerge. Reforms are needed to equip legal systems with the necessary tools to address these evolving threats effectively. 1.4. Right to Information, RTI. Why in the news? Recently, the Supreme Court directed the centre and state governments to fill the vacancies in the Central Information Commission, CIC, and State Information Commission, SIC. More on the news. SC stated that non-fulfillment of these vacancies will make the Right to Information, RTI, Act 2005 a dead letter. Despite the 2019 judgment of the Supreme Court in Anjali Bordwaj and Ors vs Union of India, the vacancies in the Central Information Commission and State Information Commissions had not been filled. This has led to a large number of pending cases and long delays in the disposal of appeals or complaints. Central Information Commission, CIC, and RTI Amendment, Act, 2019 CIC, a statutory body, has been constituted with effect from 2005 under RTI Act, 2005. Jurisdiction of Commission extends over all central public authorities. According to RTI Amendment, Act, 2019, the central government will notify the term and quantum of salary of CIC and ICS, at both central and state level, through rules. The Right to Information Rules, 2019 notified that the CIC and ICS will hold office for a term of 3 years. Earlier, the 2005 Act gave them a fixed tenure of 5 years, or a retirement age of 65 years, whichever is earlier. Amendment was done to ensure that ICS can use their powers even with senior-most officers of the administration without any fear of their jobs. About the right to information, RTI. RTI means that any Indian citizen can request any information, which is supposed to be public knowledge, from officers and departments of state or central governments. In 1986, the Supreme Court, through its judgment in Mr. Kulwal v. S. Jaipur Municipal Corporation case, directed that freedom of speech and expression provided under Article 19 of the Constitution implies RTI. As without information, freedom of speech and expression cannot be fully used by citizens. It replaced Freedom of Information Act, 2002. 10 www. Nodal agency responsible for the implementation of the RTI Act is the Department of Personnel and Training, DPT, under the Ministry of Personnel, Public Grievances and Pensions. Key provisions of RTI Act, 2005. Section 2, H. Public authority means any authority, or body, or institution of self-government established or constituted by or under the Constitution, by any other law made by Parliament, State Legislature, by notification issued or order made by the appropriate government, and includes any body owned, controlled or substantially financed, non-government organisation substantially financed, directly or indirectly by funds provided by the appropriate government. Section 4, 1, B lays down information which should be disclosed by public authorities on a suo motu or proactive basis. Section 6, 1, a person who desires to obtain any information shall make a request in writing or through electronic means to the Central Public Information Officer, PIO, or State PIO. Section 7, fixes the time limit for providing informations by POs. Section 8, exemption from disclosure of information. Exemptions under RTI Act 2005. Recently, central government, through DPT, issued a notification under Section 24(2) of RTI Act 2005 to exempt Indian Computer Emergency Response Team, CERTIN, from purview of RTI Act and added CERTIN in second schedule of RTI Act. Section 24 of RTI Act says that this law is not applicable to the intelligence and security organizations specified in second schedule. However, information pertaining to allegations of corruption and human rights violations shall not be excluded. Second schedule includes, under its ambit, institutions like RAW, IB, etc. After inclusion of CERTIN, it has 27 agencies. Other exemptions under RTI Act 2005 include Section 8, 1 lists all of the exemptions information, disclosure of which would prejudicially affect sovereignty and integrity of India, security, strategic, scientific or economic interest of state, relation with foreign state, or lead to incitement of an offence. Information which may constitute contempt of court. Information that would cause a breach of privilege of Parliament or state legislature. Information including commercial confidence, trade secrets, or intellectual property, disclosure of which would harm competitive position of a third party, unless competent authority is satisfied that larger public interest warrants disclosure of such information. Information available to a person in his fiduciary relationship, unless competent authority is satisfied that larger public interest warrants disclosure of such information. O. Information received in confidence from foreign government. O. Information, the disclosure of which would endanger life or physical safety of any person. O. Information, which would impede the process of investigation or apprehension or prosecution of offenders. O. Cabinet papers including records of deliberations, which come under specified exemptions. O. Information, which relates to personal information, the disclosure of which has not relationship to any public activity or interest, or which would cause unwarranted invasion of the privacy. Section 8. 2. Information exempted under subsection 1, an Official Secrets Act, 1923 can be disclosed if public interest in disclosure outweighs the harm to protected interest. Concerns associated with implementation of right to information, RTI. Poor record keeping. RTI applicants have been denied information due to factors like lack of records, records are not in a proper format, or have gone missing. 11 WW. O. Information was denied especially in case information was sought on buildings, land titles, and transfer of offices among others. Lack of infrastructure and staff. As per the Commonwealth Human Rights Study, the total number of RTI pleas rose by 83% between 2012 to 13 and 2018 to 19. O. However, CPIOs mandated to handle them increased by only about 13%, highlighting a shortage of staff to handle the increased RTI applications. O. Also, ICS in Manipur, Chhattisgarh, Maharashtra, Bihar, and Punjab are functioning without a CIC. Huge pendency and delays. Backlog of appeals and complaints in many commissions across the country has resulted in inordinate delays in the disposal of cases, which render the law ineffective. O. As per Sadak Nagrik Sangathan study, approximate 3.14 lakh appeals and complaints were pending as of June 2022. Threat and violence. In the last 15 years, more than 80 people who had filed RTI applications have been killed while 175 others have been attacked, and several applicants reported being harassed. Lack of awareness. Since its enactment, there has been a lack of awareness among the masses about their rights under the RTI Act, leading to underutilization of the law, especially in rural India. Way forward. Filling up the vacancy. Enhance the number of CICS and ICS to quickly dispose of pending cases and manage the increased workload effectively. O. Also, vacant posts must be filled within 3 months, as mandated by the Supreme Court in 2019. Awareness. Conduct extensive awareness campaigns and make it a part of the school to college curriculum to educate citizens about their rights. Protection. Strengthen legal provisions to protect whistleblowers from disclosing information in the public interest. O. Also, creating a safe environment for those who provide information is essential for the success of the RTI Act. Training. Provide training programs for government officials to familiarize them with the provisions of the RTI Act, conduct capacity building programs for peers, etc., to keep them updated on the RTI Act and its implementation. Proactive disclosure. Public authorities should proactively disclose information without formal RTI requests, which can further reduce the burden of RTI applications and enhance transparency in the governance structure. 1.5. Special Category Status, SCS. Why in the news? Recently, the Bihar Cabinet passed a resolution requesting the Centre to grant Special Category Status, SCS, to Bihar. More on the news. Bihar is demanding the SCS, citing poverty and backwardness of the state, lack of natural resources, regular floods in the northern region, and severe droughts in the southern part of the state. The bifurcation of the state led to shifting of industries to Jharkhand, which created a dearth of employment and investment opportunities in the state. Apart from Bihar, Odisha and Andhra Pradesh have also been demanding SCS. About Special Category Status, SCS. SCS was a classification granted by the Centre to assist the development of states that face geographical or socio-economic disadvantages. SCS was introduced in 1969 on the recommendation of the Fifth Finance Commission, FC, to benefit certain 12W disadvantaged states with preferential treatment, like establishing special development boards, reservation in local government jobs, educational institutions, etc. The SCS states used to receive grants based on the Gajah-Mukherjee formula. In the past, SCS had been granted by the Union government to states having certain characteristics, refer image, based on recommendations of the National Development Council. In 1969, 3 states, Jammu and Kashmir, first, Assam and Nagaland, were granted the SCS. Subsequently, 8 more states were given SCS, including Arunachal Pradesh, Manipur, Meghalaya, Mizoram, Sikkim, Tripura, Himachal Pradesh, and Uttarakhand. Constitution does not include any provision for categorization of any state in India as an SCS state. However, a wide range of special provisions are available to as many states that have been listed under Articles 371, 371A to 371H, and 371J. Following the recommendations of 14th FC, SCS have ceased to exist and thus no SCS has been granted to any state. Benefits associated with special category status. Central assistance. Earlier, the Gajah-Mukherjee formula earmarked nearly 30% of total central assistance for states to the SCS states. However, 14th and 15th FC recommendations led to this allocation being merged into increased divisible pool funds for all states, rising to 41% in 15th FC. Funding. In SCS states, centre state funding of centrally sponsored schemes was divided in the ratio of 90 to 10, far more favourable than 60 to 40 or 80 to 20 splits for general category states. Continuity of unspent money. Special category states had the facility that if they have unspent money in a financial year, it does not lapse and gets carried forward for the next financial year. Incentives. Several incentives are available to the SCS states in the form of concession in customs and excise duties, income tax rates, and corporate tax rates to attract investments to set up new industries, etc. Also, SCS states had availed the benefit of debt swapping and debt relief schemes. Concerns associated with idea of special category status, SCS. Criteria. There is a lack of consensus among states on criteria used to assign SCS status. SCS was granted to Uttarakhand, being a bordering Himalayan state, and was denied to Jharkhand and Chhattisgarh despite being below Uttarakhand on most growth parameters. Interstate disparities. Granting special status to certain states may lead to concerns about interstate disparities, creating lopsided economic and social structures. Encourages fiscal indiscipline. Debt swapping and debt relief schemes indirectly encourage states to spend beyond their servicing capacity, creating long-term liabilities. For example, the outstanding guarantee, as a percentage of GSDP, is 20% in Jammu and Kashmir, 10% in Himachal Pradesh. Fiscal burden. For SCS category states, the centre pays 90% of the funds required in a centrally sponsored scheme, as against 60% in the case of normal category states, further straining the resources of the centre. Way forward. Reduce dependency. Steps should be taken to reduce the dependency of SCS states on central assistance by promoting local industries, infrastructure creation, and diversification of the economy, etc. Criteria. Reviewing the criteria to determine SCS states, ensuring that the criteria reflect the unique challenges faced by these states, and considering input from relevant stakeholders. For example, SCS status can be revised to include the state's socioeconomic backwardness, along with low resource base, etc. Interstate collaboration. Steps should be taken to foster collaboration and knowledge sharing among the states to address the challenges and further strengthen cooperative federalism. Continuous exchange of best practices and lessons learned could be done to promote development in SCS. 13W. Road ahead after abolition of SCS core and optional schemes. Centrally sponsored schemes should be divided into core and optional schemes. Amongst core schemes, those for social protection and social inclusion should form the core of the core, e.g. MGNREGA, and be the first charge on available funds for national development agenda. Centre and state funding pattern for core and optional schemes, 8 NE and 3 Himalayan states, Himachal Pradesh, J&K, and Uttarakhand 90:10 and 80:20 respectively. Other states, 60:40 and 50:50 respectively. Release of funds should be simple and in accordance with a robust policy of cash management at centre and states. Institutional arrangement. Niti Aayog is mandated to strengthen cooperative federalism. It should create an appropriate platform for states and centre for mutual interaction in a problem-solving mode. Arrangements for arts. Transfer of funds to arts for non-plan and non-development purposes is administered through the demand for grants of the Ministry of Home Affairs. All core and optional schemes should be funded 100% by centre in all arts. 1.6. News in shorts.